development executive of the Gallagher Group at Hamilton. Now, for those of you that were at the awards dinner last night, you can switch off the first few slides because I'm going to repeat something that Brent already told you last night. But I do want to go through this because it provides a little bit of context. So I'm going to take you through an overview about Gallagher. And then I'm going to talk about the problem/challenge that we faced and the journey that we started on, the improvements that we made. And then realize that, hang on, this is not the answer to all the problems, but perhaps LFPD is. Now talk a little bit about the implementation strategy and then talk about our winnings. So Gallagher, we've been around for almost 75 years, really. Founded in 1938, when we're still privately owned by the Gallagher family. We export more than 80% of our revenue worldwide and over to more than 130 countries. And we employ directly and indirectly about 1,000 people. We're pretty integrated as a business, so we own a lot of our operations, right from tool making to plastics injection molding, manufacturing, distribution, even to the point where we own the distribution in most of the major markets. And we're pretty diversified business. Although it started living here with Joe the horse back in 1938. This family horse had a nasty habit of scratching itself against the family wagon. And that really didn't go down very well with Bill Sr. So he figured out a way to give the horse a bit of a jolt. And he came up with a little contraption that would put an electric current on the vehicle so that when the horse would touch the vehicle, it would get re-educated. So he concocted this device that was made up of a coil from a car engine and a piece of the counterset, and he wired it up to the car, and lo and behold, we hit the horse, scratching an itch, and only once. And then from that point onwards, he was in the other corner of the paddock. And that was really the start, the birth of electric fencing. Today, even though Gallagher is still very much known for its electric fencing, as I said, we're pretty diversified. Our main business unit still is animal management. That represents about 55% of our group. And it's around electric fencing products still. So it's around fence hardware, making sure that the bits and pieces you see on the fence, as well as leading edge technology in electric fence electronics. We do a whole range of portable fencing products. Again, if you ride around in the country, you'll see these reels and pigtails all over the place in the paddocks. An upcoming product category for us on the animal management side is electronic identification products. So again, nowadays, more regulation is being put in place to trace animals from pasture to plate. And animals are being tagged with electronic tags, and we design and manufacture the reading equipment. We also have a security division, and that is about 35% of our group revenue. And that's around access control systems, as you will find in buildings like this. We've got electronic access control in place, as well as perimeter protection. So imagine large corrections facilities, petrochemicals, utilities. It's a public secret now that we've even got our fences around Buckingham Palace these days. So we're spread quite far. A small part of our business, and it's based in parts of the north, is fuel systems. And we design and manufacture fuel pumps for service stations. So if you fill up your car on the way this morning, there's probably about a 90% chance that you use one of the Gallagher fuel system pumps, even though you won't recognize them as such. So as a business that's been around for 75 years, we've grown over time. We've acquired businesses, we've acquired brands, we've acquired products. We've become quite a large organization, quite diversified, with lots of different organization cultures, lots of different brands. And although still very entrepreneurial at heart, we're also very opportunistic, very sales-driven rather than intentional and strategic. So we realized that, hang on, we're actually becoming a fairly large organisation, and we've grown up, and we have to make sure that our internal systems and processes are going to grow with us. We can't just rely on, on the systems that we had in the past because they are now inadequate. And that kind of made us think about we need to review how we do things. So we engaged with New Zealand Trade and Enterprise through their Better by Design program. And we went through what they call their D360 process. So effectively it was helping us to take a good look in the mirror. And there was three main recommendations that came out of it. The first one was about we need to make one organization, and we need to align all those people to one vision, one design philosophy. We also wanted to have one brand. All these acquisitions were very confusing to our customers, and even more confusing internally. And the third point that was made is we need to evolve our innovation capability. Now, that was my job. And this is really what we're going to talk about now. So when I started there 4 years ago, they had just completed that D360 review, and we started looking at our innovation capabilities and started looking at best practices. Colin talked about stage gate, and the guru in the area of stage gate is Dr. Robert Cooper, who they've let us work with. And he came up with this innovation environment that says in order for new product development to be effective, you've got to have all these things in place. You've got to have, first of all, you've got to have a climate and culture in place and leadership in place to really drive that innovation. Well, that's the good thing we have. Gallagher has been right from that 1938 point with Joe Wars has been very, very entrepreneurial, right, and very innovative right from the start. So we tick that box. When we looked at other things like product innovation and technology strategy, that was non-existent virtually. Portfolio management, not really, very, very ad hoc. And when we looked at our ID to launch or stage gate process, that was kind of in place, but it was a bit flaky. So we started working on all these different areas. So we designed a process framework that looked at two aspects. First of all, it looked at doing the right projects. So it's about making sure that strategic portfolio planning and make sure that whatever you do in that space actually aligns with your business strategy and all the best practice in the world around that. Then it was the second part about doing the project right. So again, back to Dr. Cooper's work, we started working on improving our stage gate processes. So on all accounts, we were really on the right path. But one of the other things we looked at is we want to make sure that when we put something in place that we don't become a bureaucracy. Right? We want to make sure that the processes are lean, that they're fast, adaptive, flexible, and scalable. Again, being a very entrepreneurial organization, we love the idea of paperwork and bureaucracy. So we had to find a way to design a system and process that would fit with the culture and fit with that intent. So, again, on all accounts, we were on the right path, but guess what? We're still missing our targets. We still, of course, manufacturing. We've got the right manufacturing. Sort of things happening if I tell a lie. There's still problems in manufacturing. We're still missing targets. And then we came across the work of Dr. Alan Ward and Michael Kennedy. Again, introduced to us by Better by Design. And we engaged with Target Convergence Corporation, which is a company that Colin mentioned. And Colin, who represents that company in New Zealand here, was involved in the process as well. So when they presented us this picture here, that got our attention. So very similar to what happened in America when they started applying all these lean principles to product development. Then they made improvements. But the reality is, with all the improvements that we made, we were still on the left-hand side of the scale. And that's not where we want to be. When Michael Kennedy did a presentation to the executive team got Sir William's attention by saying that Toyota develops products in half the time with half the number of engineers. All right, we'll move to the edge of the seat and stay there for the rest of the day. That's the promise that came with this. So we started looking into this. And with the help of Colin and Convergence Corporation, we started our journey. But one of the things that sort of I picked up on the way in the past was change management. So one of the things that I sort of pulled up textbooks and started reading this stuff again. And I wanted to make sure when you drive change in an organization that you follow the right steps in the process, right? So you've got to have that sense of urgency. You've built that driving coalition, compelling vision, and it's like yourself. This is, by the way, from John Collin. So the point that I want to make is it's important when you do a change in an organization to understand these principles, because that's what we apply. So our strategy was really, we started at the very left-hand side with no LFP. So obviously we needed to start with that emphasis for change. We needed to grow up. We needed to have systems in place that would fit our culture. So we needed to start. But in order to start, you're really going to have your executive level commitment. And we achieved that by the initial workshop that we had with the executive team, where we made a collective commitment that this is what we're going to do. Then as you start implementing some of these learning first principles, you'll start identifying champions, people that actually pick up on these things and run with it. It's like people be enthusiastic about it, apply it well, and create some of those early wins. So you want to use those champions as examples to the rest of the organization. And the next stage really is to encourage further experimentation, consolidating those gains that we've had in the earlier stages. Then again, once you reach that point and you've got uncritical mass, it's about agreeing what is the way that we're going to do this. It's to come up with a standardized way of doing learning first point development. We'll talk about that in the learning a little bit, because one of the things you've got to look at this learning first stuff is you've got to make it your own. You've got to make it so that it fits with your organization, with your culture. And then once you reach that point that you've got it standardized, then it's So I just want to briefly come back to an early win that was kind of instrumental in the whole process. And we had really only had one workshop on learning first. And we started applying the 83 problem-solving methodologies. And we had an issue here. We were designing a new electric fence controller for our security fencing. And there's a lot of technology inside that electric fence unit, because it not only puts a fence, it's also all protection technology in it, so protect interference with the fence. But because of the sheer amount of technology that was in here in that confined space, the engineers identified that, hey, there is a problem here. The electronics that we're designing now are going to be too hot for that enclosure. Because some of these things actually sit in the desert in Australia around mines, so these things get pretty hot. So they had to find a way to cool that unit sufficiently to make sure that it continues to operate under those conditions. There's a picture of what it looks from the inside. So, I mean, this is a very raw and really 83 application, and by no means perfect, but I want to use this example because it really helped in the decision-making process. Whereas in the past, we would have sat in a room for an hour with product management, marketing, project managers, with engineers, and we would debate, and we would have opinions, and we would come up with ideas and dismiss ideas, and spend a lot of time. What we did instead here is the engineers actually identified a number of ways that they could potentially solve this problem. They went away, they experimented. So how do we cool this unit down? Okay, we can drill a hole in the case, or we got some natural convection, or we can put a fan in. That would work. There's lots of options to put a fan in. Or there's a whole range of different options. So they started trying out these different options. So they hacked the hole in this thing, they stuck it in the oven and tested it. They as you can see, some of the test results here, there was only a marginal improvement in temperature management inside the unit. So all those things that sounded very good, and the marketing guys were already talking to the sales guys about, would you be able to sell a fan kit, you know, and these things. And yeah, it was all said. What we found out that the little internal fan was, first of all, unreliable. It was a hassle to install, really only had like through a 3 or 4 degrees difference. So what we ended up with was an A3 that presented all the facts. And all of a sudden everybody shut up because it was clear the facts were actually doing the talking. There was no need to debate opinions and assumptions and suggestions. The facts were here. So the solution that was presented by the engineers is, well, if the temperature inside the unit increases to a certain level, we'll just drop the pulse rate down. Instead of once a second, we'll do 1.5 seconds, 1 every 2 seconds. That's still fine. And that actually solved the problem. So when they presented the results back, it was clear. That meeting took less than 5 minutes because the facts were on the table. The solution had been proven. So by using that example, guess what, actually Sir William used that example in the board meeting when he gave the board an update on how we were doing the learning first. He verbatim explained this example. So this is an example of an early win that we really utilized well to build that that coalition, to build sort of thank you, consensus. Yeah, that'll work. So, you know, after that, you know, A3 is already a way of life. We typically don't go into a meeting to talk about a problem. Well, we don't put every problem on A3, but a problem that's big enough, that involves a number of people, that involves a bit of work in terms of gathering information. It's an A3. And this is just an informal meeting over lunch where we've got a pile of A3s on the table. So we've obviously implemented the Hangar model. So we've got the A3 problem solving and mentoring process in place. We've got Lambda, it's the way you solve problems. We've got our own process framework. You remember the picture that Colin showed with the value stream, sorry, with the knowledge stream and then with the product streams. So we've got something that looks very, very similar to that. We've implemented the tools that you need in order to identify where your knowledge gaps are and all the bits of the templates, the matrices, causal maps, trade-off curves, etc. All those tools are now implemented. We have formal knowledge reviews in our projects, and we also have knowledge owners, so people who own that knowledge arrow effectively, who are responsible for maintaining that knowledge. We've also established a database for capturing all the knowledge, so all the E3s, all the documentation associated with that problem solving. So we're capturing the knowledge in the knowledge database. But we're by no means done. Still work. We've been into this for probably about 18 months now, and we're still learning, and we're still making mistakes. We still need to do work around roles and responsibilities, particularly in the complex business that we've got. We've got an R&D team of just over 100 people that services both our management business and security business. So there's a lot of complexities that we, in our organization, that we haven't quite resolved yet in the context of LFPD. So there's a bit of work to do here. And again, the ongoing education of people as well, and continuous improvement process. So, key learnings. Don't quit, just do it. Very important. But first and foremost, and I've actually was fortunate enough to go around New Zealand and to visit a number of companies who are also implementing Learn First, and identified a company where they didn't have this in place. They did not really have perhaps they did have the executive mandate, but not necessarily ongoing support from executive management to really make it work. I think it's absolutely essential that if you set off on this journey, that you get this in place first. You've got to understand the fundamentals of change management. All those things about, you're buying coalition, you're celebrating your events, etc. Understand that well and apply it. It's really important. Set the right pace. As several ways of doing something, an implementation like this. There's the evolution and the revolution way. The revolution way would be to say, okay, well, on this date we're going to change our organization around, and everybody will have new roles in this organization. And here's the new process, and we're going to make it happen. That's the revolution way. We chose the evolution way, where we initially just started small and built on that. It was very much more appropriate for the Gallagher culture. As I said earlier, make it your own. It is not something you can just take out of a textbook and stick on the wall and make it work. You've got to, in our case, we Gallagherize it. It's just something that you have to do, in my opinion, to be successful. Provide ongoing coaching, and there's also coaching available through companies like Colin, but also internally. You've got to develop your own mentors internally as well, and that's really important. Reward the right behaviors, and the thing is, it's not an overnight success, and it requires patience. The thing is that a project life cycle is, for us anyway, anywhere between 12 and 24 months. So it's going to take a while before we start seeing some real business results. So it starts with a big leap of faith. So it's a long journey, but start. I'll finish with a quote from Peter Drucker. We talked about strategy and implementation and so on. At the end of the day, you're not successful until it becomes part of your culture, part of the way you work. Some of the stuff is it's quite a shock to some people, because as opposed to starting on a project and saying, this is how much it's going to cost, and this is how long it's going to take, and see, I've got a Gantt chart on the wall that proves that we've got a plan. Even though the plan is always a fiction in someone's imagination, that's still the expectation. Whereas now the learning first, it's very different. You go through a learning phase first. You're not committing to the whole project until we've got enough knowledge to go to the next stage. And that's a major cultural change. So be prepared for that. It's not about sticking your process chart on the wall and think your problems will go away. It's about growing and nurturing a culture